If I were to say to you, I watched a movie recently about a group of 6 people led by a bit of a weirdo, and they were going to a special commune cult-like place that was completely isolated for a very special occasion, only for a very obviously bad thing to happen, and the cult was as big of a nut bar as that guy from Wayne's World 2.
I had to beat them to death with their own shoes.
You would probably think that I just described Midsommar. But you'd be wrong. Yes, you are. Yes, you are, my stupid dum-dums. How stupid do you feel, you pathetic little hobgoblins?
Sorry I lost my temper. It's just, I recently found out that I'm a janitor.
Actually, what I was describing was OPUS, the latest A24 fake artsy flick that is... It's just not as good as Midsommar. Man, I really want to curse right now, but it's a little too early into the vid for that. Thanks, YouTube. Anyways, let's go ahead and spoil this kinda spooky turd. So the movie starts off introducing us to our main girl, Ariel, who is pitching an idea to interview a big pop star while they are riding high, and her boss Stan says, yeah, great idea. Let's give it to literally any other a-hole. Okay, moving on.
You douche.
Yeah, so obviously she didn't take too kindly to that, so she goes and eats with a friend of hers in Vents. She's been there for 3 years and hasn't done anything meaningful. She then breaks down her life's plan, interviews someone famous or interesting, and by proxy, she will become an interesting person. And then she'll write a book, and that's it.
Really?
Yeah, so just the classic young person self-centered life goal. Be famous without actually doing much yourself. And when she asks her friend for advice, he lays down the hard truth. Nobody is going to care about your book. You have lived a very uneventful life, good parents, went to school, hasn't accomplished anything that big, never went to rehab, isn't talented in any super interesting way, doesn't have any interesting former relationships under her belt. She's just average. And obviously this crushes her, but the guy has a point. So good on him for not being a kiss ass and giving his friend the hard truth. The next day, everyone is talking about the big news, and the big news is that Alfred Moretti, who is a super music icon, has returned from I don't know where. But anyways, he's about to drop a new album, and the entire damn world is losing their mind over it. And the person giving us this info is Buster from Arrested Development. I'm a monster! He goes on stating that only a few select people are going to be given special treatment and are going to be hearing the songs first before being released to the masses. We see 5 people get a special gift basket with a record containing the first song of the album, along with a few extra goodies and an invite to a private place. One of the few chosen is Stan, but a second is delivered to the office, and it's for our girl.
Oh my. I'm shocked at this unforeseen turn of the events.
Our ragtag team of journalists gets flown out to Green River, Utah. So to recap, we have a movie about a weird cult in Utah.
I done the math. Checks out.
They are greeted with a bus and the rest of the invites. We don't really get to know them much. One of them is Clara, who y'all might recognize from Natural Born Killers.
Are you flirting with me?
Maybe.
I guess she's like an actress, and then there's Emily, who's an influencer, and this seems to be her debut film, so welcome to the horror club. Time for a little hazing.
You don't know me, but I know you. I want to play a game.
Then there is Bianca, who I think is paparazzi, and a guy named Bill who used to know Moretti really well but then had a falling out. Not sure what his profession is, probably journalist. They go to essentially a compound for this little exclusive get-together. Once there, we get a breakdown of what's going down. We get an itinerary for the whole weekend. We get there midday Friday, and then they will be there until Sunday. Everybody gets a personal concierge that will attend to their every need. And I mean every need.
Giggity. What? Nothing, it's stupid.
Our main girl's concierge may seem a little familiar to you if you've seen Prey. They also have to surrender their phones. Can't have them dropping any secrets of the gated compound where everyone is wearing shades of blue and religiously following around a pop star. What could go wrong? They get fed that evening, and the first thing is a loaf of bread that everyone takes a bite out of directly, and since our girl is like 50th down the line, it's pretty gross. She still does it though, just hesitantly. As they get served their real food, our girl is getting to know the bald guy who led them there. He says that the reason he is there is because one time, Moretti called him out of the blue to just come. So he dropped his entire life and came to the compound, and the rest is history. Now he teaches musical history to the kids at the compound. She also asks him about the book that everybody was given in their gift basket of invitations. It's called The Meditations of Level. The people here are called levelists. They exist to protect those who are divinely gifted to wield excellence or something like that. I didn't catch all of it. It's a cult, guys. Don't overthink it. They are all fanatics in their own special way. After their little chat, our girl is taking notes because her boss told her to essentially be his assistant and that she will help him write an article about the place. Moretti is eyeballing her, giving her like creepo vibes, which isn't too hard. Moretti is played by John Malkovich, and he can definitely give an intimidating stare.
I'm not here representing our bodies.
Oh yes, I know very well what you represent. You represent the idiocy of today.
That night, we see our six enjoying their evening. People drink, listen to music, notice that their concierge are sitting outside of their doors waiting for whatever they will need, and Bill gets a massage that ends with people tying him down and drilling holes into his back.
That escalated quickly.
The next day, our girl starts off with a jog, and of course, Prey Girl follows her. She sees the compound and all of the various activities that they do and meets up with Moretti. She asks him a bit about the cult. He apparently didn't start it, but seems to be the current leader. She presses, what do they do? And he shows her one thing that they do. They go to a small tent and they see a man desperately shucking oysters for a pearl. There are dozens of empty shells near him, and despite all of his cuts, he endures. Moretti states that the worth of a single pearl surpasses all of the empty shells. True balance exists in not that everything is equal, but in fact everything is unequal. And then we get some lines that I guess could be considered humor, but they don't really land super well, so it's not a great start. Ariel goes back to her room and she gets a ton of visitors, and they make sure that she is her best self, so obviously they gotta trim up that unkept bush. I'm not joking. That actually happens. The group then meets up, and Ariel, being the more questionable one, asks if everybody got the same downstairs treatment that she did, and yep, it's not just a her thing. Everyone got the weed whacker treatment. They go and sit in a circle and are given a sci-fi, sex-infused show of Moretti's either second or third song. All of the cultists in the room have stars on their eyes to reflect how much they just worship this guy. But Emily, the influencer, seems to be choking or has some breathing issues, so she gets escorted away for some help. And then there were four.
Uh-oh, Spaghetti-O.
They walk out and Ariel is talking to Stan about them writing separate articles. He can write about Moretti, but she wants to write about the levelists. In the background you can see some archery targets. Keep that in mind. Stan objects, saying, no, there will be one article and I will write it. Cue him getting shot in the chest with an arrow. But of course, it's the Hollywood spot where it's not lethal. A small child comes in saying, oh, I'm sorry, it was an accident. Oh, really? Because the targets were in the literal opposite direction of where Stan was actually standing, so
I don't believe you.
That night, Ariel is with the whole group and is saying that the whole place is obviously messed up and they need to go. Nobody buys it. She points out that Bill hasn't been seen all day and that his last encounter with Moretti was a bad one, but they think everything will still be fine. The next morning, Ariel is determined to find their phones and Bill. She goes out at the crack of dawn in all black and even a black hat, in a place where everyone is wearing blue and no hats.
Hey pal, you just blowing from Stupid Town?
Who the fuck wrote this? This isn't Midsommar where it's never super dark out. You really could have gone out at night and wore black to blend in, but no, you waited until the sun was up and wore clothes that nobody else wears and a color that nobody else is wearing.
Fucking idiot.
She finds a weird taxidermy barn with all of their phones, but they're all taped over and she can't use them. The camera then pans over and we, the audience, see a headless corpse. Obviously Bill's. And then the staff find her and ask if everything is okay, and then they just leave.
What? Oh, come on!
This is such shit. This reeks of trying to be spooky or ominous or artsy and not knowing how to do it. Whatever. Ariel has packed her bags, but obviously they won't let her leave. But this has been decently prepped. They have answers for all of her questions. They know where everybody is. The bus isn't coming back for another 40 minutes. She can't make it on there with their four-wheelers because they don't have enough gas. And they even top it off with a small child giving her a sob story about missing their puppet show. She agrees to sit in as long as she has a view of where the bus will arrive so that she can bounce the moment that it does. They sit and enjoy the puppet show called The Tragedy of Billy.
Uh-oh, Spaghetti-O.
The puppets in the show are made out of rat corpses, though comically portrayed rat corpses. Real rats wouldn't actually look like this, it's just for dramatic effect. The rats are paparazzi harassing a talented person, meanwhile something moves in Ariel's beanbag seat. Oh, and the influencer pops out. The veil is finally lifted as we see that this isn't going to have a happy ending. Her face is swollen to the point where she can't see, speak, and barely breathe because some chemicals that she took, Moretti says. Everyone tries to leave, but Stan and Bianca get stabbed to death. Clara is beaten up pretty bad, but Ariel is able to escape out the window. She stumbles on a tourist performance house and randomly sees a decoration on the wall and Bill's head is in it. Fucking obvious ripoff of Midsommar right there. She also sees some bottles of champagne and cyanide. She is eventually found and gets her ass handed to her by the Prey Girl, naturally. Though I'm still gonna bitch about it because the fight happens behind closed doors, so we don't actually get to see any of the fun. There is a big final ceremony. It's just Ariel and Clara left. They are tied together, and as everyone is about to drink the champagne, Clara is forced to drink some as well, but Ariel got slipped a knife by someone. I honestly missed it, so I don't know how she got it, but she's able to get free and bolts and makes it onto a four-wheeler. She gets followed by the Prey Girl, of course. She makes it to the fence of the property, and the fence is where some loser people who hang out and do nothing but just wait to see Moretti just sleep. She begs someone to give her a ride, but the guy isn't leaving fast enough, so she just neos him and drives out of there. We time jump to 2 years ahead. Our girl is a big shot now. She's written a book, everyone is interviewing her. During an interview, they ask her about the levelist that helped her escape. Yeah, I guess that was the part that I missed. We then get a flashback to the police raid of the compound. The bodies of our 5 characters are wrapped up and around Moretti playing a piano, waiting for his capture. The rest of the place is deserted. Ariel later gets a call from Buster Bluth to interview Moretti. She meets him at the prison, and he talks about a very minute detail in her book which makes her scoff quite a bit. Moretti then goes on a rant about leadership in history. Those who used to lead were the strongest, and then it was the left-brained people, the thinkers, but everything's gone to shit. So now, it's the right-brained people's turn. The creative, the talented who will lead the world. Ariel snaps at him and we finally are told why the 5 were chosen. Yeah, they all had bad history with Moretti. Sorry movie. Too little too late for me to care. She then asks about the other levelists. He admits to killing the 5 guests, but not the levelists. They aren't dead. They're everywhere. I guess the cyanide red herring that we saw was either how they killed Clara, or it was a deliberate red herring for the audience that just didn't actually go anywhere because the writing isn't actually that good. Ariel presses, "Why did you pick me?" Moretti responds with 2 reasons. First, for them, she was a pure vessel. Kind of a callback to her bland life in the beginning. And the second reason is that he read a very old article of hers before she was even a professional journalist. She interviewed someone and said that their chin was delightfully inconspicuous, and he needed someone to get a good look at his chin. He then thanks her for the book that she wrote, and she leaves. We then jump to Ariel's next interview, and she notices that the TV host has a pearl necklace that all the levelists have, and then she pauses in terror, and the movie ends.
Meh. What do you mean, meh?
Meh.
Okay, so Where to begin? Nobody here is really that bad of an actor, but I also only really get to know 2 people, Ariel and Moretti. The problem is that I'm supposed to care about 5 more people, and I just couldn't because they got killed before getting to know them. Bill is the first to go, and I think he has like 2 lines before he dies. It's the same with Bianca, and she might have gotten fewer lines, but she made it to the end. The asshole boss, well, yeah, he's an ass, but we only get to know his negative qualities, which is pretty surface level character development. Clara is nice and has the most lines, but we don't really know much about her either. The influencer dies, I think, without saying shit, so yeah, not a great way to do a deep, artsy horror movie. Moretti is obviously the most interesting guy. They even throw jabs at him for changing his clothes so often, but the guy also has as many rings that he switches through like Johnny Depp has bracelets.
Hold it right there, Sparrow.
This is the day you will always remember as the day you almost caught Captain Jack Sparrow.
The movie flat out reeks of Midsommar wannabe. You got the cult, the same number of outsiders, the isolation, only one person is smart enough to see that something is seriously wrong, and everybody else sticks around for much longer than actual smart people would. Also, the whole movie is kind of undercut because we aren't shown why these specific people were chosen to be there until the last scene of the movie, and it's broken down in a throwaway line, and on top of that, it was all just personal vendetta bullshit. Moretti is a very petty man who thinks everything he does is above criticism. Yeah, you can legit hate journalists and paparazzi for throwing cheap shots at you and ruining your time, but fans and more common folk can do that too. That's the risk you take when you put yourself out there. No one is blindly worshipped. Well, I guess there are a few exceptions. Man, A24 is fucking up big time. Is this a terrible movie? No, there are a few things about it that aren't necessarily bad, like the moment where they're talking about shaving pubes was pretty funny. But the movie as a whole is incredibly skippable. This might make my worst of the year list just because of how skippable it is. There is no good reason to watch a cheap, less artistic, less well-written, less deep, less horrific version of Midsommar. Anyways, it's time to wrap this all up spooky-like. What time is it even?
After 8.
Already? Ciao, Bella.